guest slider. If you've ever seen all that and more, on this week's edition of Android Atlas Weekly for January 11th, 2012, I'm Justin Eckhouse alongside Antoine Goodwin.
Hey guys.
How's it going?
We're in Vegas.
We are in Vegas, and we have a guest with us, Ryan Bidan, the Director of Product Marketing from Samsung Mobile.
Hey.
How's it going? Thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So I'm going to jump right into it. You guys had some big announcements from the show, and some of them were actually Android related. We're not going to talk about the washing machines probably for the most part, but you can maybe sneak it in here.
Sure, okay, thanks.
So let's start with the Galaxy Note, which there's a lot of rumors about, and we pretty much knew it was confirmed the moment we checked into our hotel across the way and saw all the big banners.
I was going to say, when you saw the giant buses driving down the street.
We saw the giant buses, we saw the banner, which actually for a while said the Samsung Galaxy No. I guess the wind was brutal on day one here.
Okay.
So walk us through this. What is this? Is it a phone? Is it a tablet? Is it a media player?
So it is pretty clearly a 5.3-inch smartphone. It's basically, if you just look at it, it feels a lot like one of our Android or our Galaxy S2 devices.
Yes. So it looks like one too, just bigger.
Just bigger. So as I said, it's 5.3-inch screen, Super AMOLED HD, and it's 1280 by 800 resolution. So very high res, great image quality. You get all the vibrant colors and richness that you expect in a Super AMOLED display. So kind of as our great displays are going, this is kind of the evolution of that and another beautiful bright phone. I mean, from a kind of pure hardware perspective, it's got a dual-core 1.5 gigahertz processor, 8-megapixel autofocus camera on the back with LED flash. It's got another camera on the front for video conferencing, that kind of stuff. If you may have seen the international version of this, I know it's been out overseas for a couple of months now. Right. A little bit of a design difference. On the front of this one, we've got kind of the 4 capacitive touch keys as the rest of our Android devices in North America, instead of the one single large touch button. Kind of
so who do you think, who's the ideal user for this?
Well, and that's the thing about this device. I mean, if you just take those specs in and of themselves, it just feels like another high-end smartphone, right? So the really unique feature about the Galaxy Note is the S Pen.
Right.
So what this does, and please don't call it a stylus, is it allows you to interact with the device and do a bunch of stuff that you couldn't do with either your finger or just a normal capacitive stylus. So what we've actually done is integrate the stylus with the, I just called it a stylus. Integrate the S Pen.
Oh man, you're going to get in trouble, aren't you?
Uh-oh, probably already email coming in. Use the S Pen with the digitizer integrated into the touchscreen, allows you to do a lot more stuff. So you get really fine grain details, so down to 0.7 of a millimeter with this thing, and also 256 levels of pressure sensitivity. So you can start to create really fine drawings, notes, create things essentially.
Right. So is this for artists? Is it like a doctor who is sitting there?
Well, I mean, you can start to imagine the obvious uses when you're talking about note taking, right? So you've got this single handheld device, you've got the stylus that allows you to do a lot of cool stuff, like draw pictures, edit photos, that kind of stuff. But we've also gone a step further on the productivity side of things and integrated it into Polaris Office. So what you can actually do is open up a PowerPoint, annotate it with the pen, send it back to somebody, and they can kind of see those edits in Microsoft Office as as objects on the device, and go ahead and continue to use it or continue to make those changes, remove your edits, and continue to use the file. So it's got some productivity pieces as well, like our Safe, so Samsung approved for enterprise features, so additional VPN support, additional Exchange and ActiveSync profile stuff. So just a lot of under the hood stuff as well that make it great for business. So when you ask me who the ideal customer for this is, it's somebody who wants a really high-end smartphone, wants the portability associated with that, but needs to do a little bit more and doesn't want to carry an additional tablet along as well.
All right, so let's jump to another product which you announced, which actually it's kind of been around for a while, right? But you sort of have enhanced it with a slightly new name, and that's sort of the All-Share product line, or what do you call it, service? Yeah,
so let's think of All-Share as a service. I mean, traditionally it's been a bunch of very disparate kind of pieces, right? So we had kind of All-Share Remote, which was the remote control functionality, and then we had All-Share, which allowed you to share content, and very similar to DLNA, across devices that are on the same Wi-Fi network. So push content from your phone to your TV, watch content that may be on a remote server, those types of services. What All-Share Play does is we added the cloud. So now they don't need to be on the same Wi-Fi network to be able to share that content and do that. You just need to register the devices, and then they'll start to see each other seamlessly.
Okay, and the suite of devices we're talking about that support this, so your phones, TVs,
Phones, tabs, TVs, washing
machines.
Fridge,
So what can I
fridge
do
in
with
this
my?
case, but yeah.
Okay, fridge. What do I do with the fridge?
So basically, think about the fridge in very much the same way you'd think of having perhaps a smartphone in the kitchen, except for the making calls piece. So download apps,
Right.
you can watch TV on it, push pictures. So say you're out at the park, kids are running around, shoot some shots of the kids and actually push them right to grandma's fridge.
Right. And
So
is this the kind of thing, to use your competitor's terminology, can I do AirPlay type of stuff where I'm watching a video on my phone and then I pause it and then I'm like, oh, I need to watch the rest of this recipe on my, refrigerator.
Yeah, so it starts to enable all of those types of things. So I'm watching TV in the living room. I can actually then seamlessly start watching the TV on my phone or my tab, go into the other room with it, push it to the fridge if I wanted to do that. But very much those kinds of, let's take content with us, let's use it seamlessly wherever we're going on whatever device.
Right. Okay, great. So what's next?
Okay, so we've already got the washing machine that you can control with an Android app.
When's the car? That's what Antoine's really interested in, right?
Yeah, I'm really into car stuff.
Samsung car, you'd be into that?
Yeah, let's we're going
Can we
with that.
do
Galaxy,
the James Bond
Galaxy Roadster.
Nice.
Or
Nice.
drive your car with your phone?
So Samsung is a very big company, as you know, washers, dryers, TVs, super tankers, giant buildings, insurance, fashion, you name it, we probably do it. And so what we're thinking about and kind of the approach that we're taking going forward is about how can we add more value to you by being in the Android or being in the Samsung ecosystem, right? So this idea of, okay, so today I've got Galaxy phone, tomorrow maybe I add a smart TV, maybe down the road I upgrade my fridge or my washing machine, and every time you incrementally do that, we want to add incrementally more value to the things you're doing.
Okay. Well, great. Thanks for joining us today. That was a great overview of both those products, which are pretty interesting, and I'm sure we'll be hearing more about them as more products come out.
Thanks.
We're going to take a quick break, but then we're going to run down all the news from CES, so stay with us.
Android Atlas Weekly. Android Atlas Weekly.
And we are back. That was a pretty good interview, don't you think?
Yeah, it was good. I like the all-share stuff. I like that now in the Android world we have, a choice for the whole, what's the Apple ecosystem
I don't
thing
know what it's called.
Yeah, we ignore that
whatever.
stuff.
Anyway.
Watch iPhone Atlas for that. But let's talk about cameras.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a camera. So I don't know how to describe this, but for a long time we've seen phones get better and better cameras, and now what we're seeing is, I don't know if this is a first, but it's certainly, like it says right here on the headline, Polaroid first with Android camera, so it's a first.
Yeah. So it's the opposite of what you just said. And instead of phones becoming more like cameras, camera in this case, the Polaroid SC1630 gets more like a phone. It's not exactly a phone though.
Yeah, this is interesting for a couple of reasons. So I know that Molly was discussing earlier on Buzz Out Loud how we've been looking for Wi-Fi based cameras for a long time, and Samsung actually introduced one, but it's not Android based as far as we know, so we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, this one is a 16 megapixel camera that has a touch screen on the back, which, for all intents and purposes looks like is Android.
Right. I mean, you'd be. It's kind of like those performers they used to have back in the day, where one half was like a man, one half was a woman, and they do like the duet with themselves.
Right.
This is like that. One side of this is basically a portable media player, an Android portable media player, and the other side, looks just like a camera. Really big lens placed front and center, and really simple controls for. Shutter and whatnot, placed front and center where you can get to them.
Yeah, I think this is really cool. I'm most excited, I have to say, about the connectivity, less so about the Android. Android's great on a phone, but the fact that it can connect over Wi-Fi, it can connect over 3G and a bunch of other sort of cellular networks at an extra cost, just makes your pictures so much easier to get off your camera, which has always been the problem for me with cameras. iFi tried to solve this problem in sort of an aftermarket way, but it just never really came together for most people, I think.
To be fair, their new Wi-Fi cards do work with Android and iOS devices. You can pair that directly with the phones with the app. But I mean, as I understand, when I played with it when it first came out, it was a little weird.
Yeah, I think it was, but I think an integrated solution in this case is going to be better. So let's talk about some real phones for a second here, and this is one that we've been talking about rumors for a long time. This is the Droid 4. So both you and I had the original Droid, right?
Right, Motorola Droid 1.
Right, a groundbreaking phone in the Android world. I think it really propelled Android into the map. And now we finally have what I think is a good successor to the original Droid, which is the Droid 4, and our own Brian Bennett says is the best Android keyboard slider yet.
So I'm assuming that the interesting thing here is the keyboard, because the phone itself looks pretty much like the Droid RAZR with the added bulk of a keyboard.
Right, but it's the first Droid slider keyboard with 4G.
Okay.
It has, the processor's not that much faster than the Droid 3, I guess, and it's still only running Android 2.3. I was saying before the show, I'm a little disappointed at the lack of ice cream sandwich phones that have been introduced.
I mean, to be fair, it just came out. Ice cream sandwich was just sort of just hit the market in the first phone weeks ago.
Right.
And a lot of the devices that we're seeing here at the show, I mean, they're new to us, but I mean, to the developers, they're not. They've been working with these devices for months at this point, so I'm really not surprised.
You make excuses, I'm not giving them any slack.
I'm not making excuses, I'm just saying I'm not surprised.
Right, okay. I guess that's true. I'm a little surprised, but I have high expectations for our Android ecosystem. Let's talk about another phone. The Droid 4 is a great one. Are you going to switch?
No, I'm good.
You're good, all right. So the Galaxy Nexus, my phone of choice, been out on Verizon for what, 4 weeks now? And Sprint has announced that sort of as part of their LTE rollout, which will start soon and hit, I think, 10 different cities by 2012, one of the first phones on that is going to be the Galaxy Nexus, which is going to be almost identical to the Verizon one, except...
It's unadulterated.
Meaning, for most people...
Yeah, that means that the Google Wallet implementation that was cherry-picked out of the Verizon version is actually going to be in this one. Presumably it's because Sprint doesn't have the sort of contractual conflicts that Verizon has with...
They're not developing their own payment system,
right.
like the ISIS payment system. Yeah, I wonder if this is going to put any pressure on Verizon to sort of get the Google Wallet on there, or at least their own wallet solution. I think the biggest problem with the Verizon solution is there is no solution.
Well, I mean, there's a very simple solution. It's called root your phone and put it on there. I mean, that came out, literally the same day that the Galaxy Nexus hit the market, was people had already put the Google Wallet implementation back on in the aftermarket. So
right.
I mean, if you're really into that sort of thing, I mean, there is a solution. I mean, the good thing about Android is there's usually no problem that's not really solvable if you're willing to void your warranty.
It's true, but most people aren't, unfortunately. But it's good to see. I love the concept of using NFC to pay, and I am very disappointed. I haven't rooted my phone yet. Something about rooting your phone and then downloading Google Wallet from some server that holds all your credit card information then is a little unsettling.
I mean, the Google Wallet you download comes from the Android open source project, so I mean it's not, you're getting it from Google server. You're just basically rebuilding it back in there.
All right.
It's a little less
Maybe there's
than
logic, but it's still unsettling that you have to install that yourself.
Man up, Justin.
All right, what's next?
What's next is another Motorola phone. Quick hit on this one. It's the Droid RAZR Maxx. It's another Droid RAZR variant. It seems like
MAXX.
Yeah, 2 X's because it's double extreme. It's basically, again, the Droid RAZR, a little bit thicker. But what's interesting here is that little bit of added thickness, 0.07 inches thicker it is, it adds up to about double the battery life.
Right.
Here. Motorola is boasting
12 and a half hours was the old one.
Yeah. Now they're boasting 21 hours of continuous talk time. So
it's not a bad trade-off for 0.07 inches thicker. But my question is, does an extended battery merit a new name for your phone?
Well, then, yeah, sure.
Yeah, because I just ordered an extended battery for my phone, but it didn't change the name.
Well, then it's kind of like, you know, you buy a Mini Cooper.
Yeah.
You add a turbo to it. It's not still a Cooper. It's now a Cooper S. You got to put. It's a new model. It's a different model
Even
for all
if you
intents
do.
and purposes.
All right. Fine.
As far as the EPA is concerned.
For the EPA, well, they don't regulate phones, thankfully.
Not yet.
So the Droid Maxx. So let's talk about, we are hosting the Best of CES awards. We announced the finals this morning, and the awards are tomorrow. There were some interesting Android devices to come out of there. We're going to talk about a couple of tablets. The first of which is from Toshiba, and it's the Excite X10. And this is a pretty interesting tablet because it is the, according to our own Eric Franklin, the lightest and thinnest tablet.
Yet.
Yet, it's crazy expensive.
Yeah. So again, this is 7.7 millimeters thin. It's like about a half a millimeter, 0.6 millimeters thinner than the Transformer Prime. That's about a blade of grass when you're
Right.
talking about thickness. But I mean, you know, accolades are accolades. But yeah, it seems like looking at Eric's report that it is a pretty impressive device. But I mean,
Right. It's kind of expensive compared to other Android tablets, but compared to the iPad, not excessively expensive, right?
not excessively. But I mean, you know, you're paying for things like magnesium alloy chassis and you know, just really, I guess the build quality that you need to make a device that thin and not feel like a creaky mess when you're touching it. Is one of the things that when I talked to Eric, he said that it felt pretty sturdy for it to be that thin.
Right.
One thing that I'm a little bit is, you know, they're going to a magnesium alloy backside. This is metal, and I haven't seen any pictures of the back, but I wonder how they're gonna, you know, avoid the pitfalls of the Transformer Prime. Remember that metal back on that device actually caused issues with its Wi-Fi connectivity and GPS.
That's why it costs money. They, you know, made it stronger. They put in some crazy glue. I don't know.
I, for one, can't wait to steal this off of Eric's desk.
Okay, let's jump to the other end of the tablet spectrum. Also, a Best of CES finalist, the Asus Memo 370T. So the previous one was a solid, fast tablet, but really expensive.
Right.
And this one is a quad-core NVIDIA ice cream sandwich tablet for $250.
Wait, what? Is
Yeah.
that like subsidized by somebody?
I
What's
don't-
going on with that?
By Asus, I guess.
Oh.
Asus. It's a 7-inch tablet, so the other
well, there
tablet
you
was
go.
10-inch. But still, $250 for a quad-core tablet.
Not
Yeah.
bad at all.
You
I mean,
know,
quad-core tablet. I mean, you're talking about a potentially viable laptop replacement. Just
and think about that compared to the Kindle Fire, which is $199, right?
Right, and
and is subsidized. So the fact that they've been able to make this sort of unsubsidized tablet for $250 that pretty much can do everything the Kindle Fire can do, plus a whole lot more. I think it's a pretty interesting product that could really sort of change the tablet space, at least on the Android side of things.
no, wait. I'm looking at the post right here, and it says second quarter 2012, base price of $399. Where are you getting $250 from?
It says it right there at the top.
Mhm.
I think it comes in different configurations.
Okay, that's
So
probably
different
it.
sizes, yeah. So it's debuting at $250, but yeah, I'm sure you can add more memory, and you can always make things more expensive.
And of course, you can have the requisite keyboard dock to make it into a little closey laptopy thing.
Right. Yeah, everyone's kind of going the way of the Prime there. All right, let's talk about Lenovo and their Idea Tab S2.
Oh, you know what? I opened the wrong.
Oh, you did? Okay.
the
So
wrong tab.
they confused me.
Oh, that's the one. That's $399.
Right,
Let's
so
go ahead
this
and jump
one
straight to the
is-
beginning there.
It is a competitor to the Prime, right?
Right.
So this is Lenovo's ice cream sandwich tablet that, you know, can be a full laptop, full Android-based laptop, which, as I was just saying, is sort of the way of things are going right now. It's pretty well powered, 1280 by 800 resolution, Qualcomm, you know, dual core 1.5 gigahertz chip, and all the sort of standard bells and whistles.
That's all standard now.
Well, standard, I think for high-end Android tablets, it
Yeah.
is standard.
Oh yeah.
And apparently for low-end 7-inch tablets made by Asus, standard as well.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. For that and what I'm seeing here, the $399 price seems a little bit more reasonable.
Does that price include the actual dock as well?
I very seriously doubt it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's a $150 dock.
That's why they
That's-
can
they
deceive
they
you.
like to charge triple digits for those things that you can get for
Do you
70 bucks.
think these convergence devices are going to take off? I mean, we're going to see the Prime and, you know, this, I already forgot the name, the Lenovo sort of tablet docking station take off. Motorola tried it a year ago, it didn't really work out very well.
Yeah, they tried it a year ago, but that was a phone getting slapped onto basically a screen and a keyboard
Right.
when they came out with the docking station for the Atrix.
Right.
So there's a bit of redundancy there to basically you have a perfectly good screen that you're hiding behind another screen. In this case, it's like you've got a tablet. I mean, the tablet market has already kind of proven that people really love to buy cases that have keyboards in them. So why not make it a little bit more elegant of a solution, not just strapping it into basically a Trapper Keeper with a keyboard built into it.
You love to talk about the Trapper Keeper.
That's a part of my childhood.
All right, well, we'll see what happens here. There's some other interesting stuff running Android. The first is some Google TV announcements. I think we talked actually a lot about Google TV last year at CES, and we have some news sprinkled in throughout the year. But Google is again getting serious about Google TV and has signed some new partnerships. They had sort of the Sony partnership, and they have the Logitech devices that came out, which haven't done that well. But now they have new deals with Vizio, LG, and Samsung to offer, Google TV in their various devices, from their TVs to set-top boxes, and also deals with Marvel and MediaTek to produce chipsets that can be used in other devices going forward. So the question is, will this actually change the game for Google TV? Is the sort of manufacturer support what is lacking there, or is the user demand lacking?
Well, I think TVs are becoming connected. They're getting apps. The TV manufacturers are definitely wanting to make these things more than just a dumb display. And I mean, Google TV is there. I mean, it's an option to. All right, well, what's the easiest way to do that? Well, it's just basically take something that's already built and slap it in there instead of going Samsung's route and basically developing your own sort of interface for your TV, and then making your own partnerships and basically having to get in contact with Netflix and form your own partnership there. Like, you already have sort of a built-in ecosystem there.
Yeah.
And when these manufacturers who were I mean, maybe not late, but maybe not early getting into this sort of connected TV game, start thinking about doing it. I mean, of course, it's just easier just to go like, oh, well, let's do this. And I don't know if it's going to be one of those things that puts Google TV on top of the game, or but it definitely adds a little bit more relevance. It makes them more of a viable contender as far as, like, competing for Google's resources and attention.
Right. I mean, I have to
internally.
say that I'm still skeptical. I think that what people want on their TVs is kind of a curated experience, something that's very easy to control from their living room, from their couch. And Google TV has gone the route of, like, let's put the internet on your TV, and I don't know that that's what people want. They've introduced apps, which I think is going to simplify everything, but we haven't seen tons of apps come out.
I don't know. I think you'd be amazed by people wanting internet on their TV.
I would be amazed by that. You're right. The other question is, what we've seen in the past is Google has signed deals for Google TV on, with various manufacturers, but normally those deals are like, we're going to put that on 2 of our 20 different models, and they're going to be on the models that no one buys anyway. So when we start seeing devices from Samsung and LG and Vizio, I think if it's that kind of deal, then it's not going to work out. But if it's going to be, these are on our big, best-selling devices, then they're going to start to sway the industry.
I would hope that LG and Vizio would want to sell all of their TVs, and they weren't just making TVs to be shelf warmers. Well, nobody's going to make it. Let's just put it out anyway. I would really hope that that's not, and I'm pretty sure that's not their way of looking at this sort of thing. But again, those are often the low-cost models, and you don't want to dump a bunch of R&D money into something that you're not going to make a ton of, it doesn't have like a ton of overhead, So it would make sense on a low-cost budget TV to go ahead and add something that's already built and not to invest that money into building it yourself.
It's true, but all these companies already have their connected TV platform. But it is also true that Android is free for them for the most part, right?
I mean,
And
why
so
not? Why not hedge those bets?
Yeah. So Lenovo has taken a different approach to getting Android on their TVs. So they actually have announced a TV that actually is going to only be released in China to start with. And this TV is actually running Android, not Android via Google TV, but Android itself, which is a very different take that we have not seen before. What do you make of this? Does that make any sense?
It seems rather roundabout.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's definitely interesting. I like to see weird things like this happen. So basically, when you turn on this TV, you'll go to the Android or an Android home screen, presumably something that's skinned.
Highly skinned, I would guess, right?
But it wouldn't be like, and maybe there'd be like a tuner window in there or something like that. But my worry is that this would be like every annoying TV that's in hotels now, where you turn it on and instead of just going straight to channel, it says, "Welcome, Antoine," and it starts trying to sell me things, and you have to push 4 buttons just to get to the tuner before you can go to your channel. I worry about that, but I don't know, it definitely seems interesting, and it's a little confusing, though, considering we just finished talking about Google TV.
Yeah.
Seems like it would be better suited for
Well, it could be that they are taking the approach that I'm talking about, where people want the curated experience, they don't want the internet, they don't want a web browser on their TV, and so maybe just sticking Android on there is like, it's a free OS that we can just stick on there, and we just want to build a TV that is smart to compete with Samsung, who has built their own OS, and we want to jumpstart on that, but we don't actually want Google TV. So I think it could work, and they're also going to use this to connect to their other devices, their Android tablets and their basically second screen devices.
I think ultimately how interesting or how successful this is going to depend on what they do with Android. They can't just like slap, that standard Android home screen with the app drawer on the device. They're going to have to heavily skin it. Do something like, Parrot has actually built a series of Android-powered car stereos. And it doesn't look anything like Android, but they just needed an operating system that they could skin.
Right.
Android just happens to be it. If this is something similar to that, where they just want to build their own experience, then the easiest way to do that is to start with Android and then create something completely different. Maybe they just don't want Google TV because they don't want to put the Google TV logo on it. Maybe they don't even want the Android marketplace. They just want the underlying thing that's powering it, the software that's powering it. Then maybe we could see something interesting from that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to have to watch this one. It'll be a little hard since it's only in China, but hopefully it'll come to the U.S. eventually, and we'll be able to
Just get like a really long telescope, and you can watch it from here.
I think we're just going to have to get a CNET trip to China.
Or, I mean, there is also the internet.
The internet. I've heard of that on my TV.
I'm on it. Have you checked?
Awesome. Let's do one quick app of the week here, and then I think we're done. TiVo, who has had apps out for other operating systems that shall not be named for quite a while, has released an Android app, and it's pretty much parity with the apps on the other platforms.
You can say Apple.
I can?
Yeah.
I don't get in trouble? I thought I got like zapped.
You won't get kicked off the show.
We'll see. Tune in next week to find out. So it lets you sort of see a guide of what's on your TV. It actually will show you a remote control picture of sort of the classic TV remote. So you can do all the functions you can do with your remote, but you can also click in the guide and sort of jump to any given show or schedule programming that's coming up in the future, or even search for programming. So I think this works on both Android tablets and on smartphones as well. I'm a big TiVo user, so I'm pretty excited about this.
Does this connect like through the internet to your device, or I mean, it says that I don't think it's using RF or Bluetooth because every phone doesn't have that. So is it just sort of pinging a server and then bouncing back?
Based on my usage of the iPad version, it does connect sort of over your LAN or over the internet, and you have to sort of pair the two devices, which has kind of been a pain to do every time I've done it, and it sort of loses pairing. So hopefully the Android one works better, but it's actually a really great way and one of the best to navigate the TiVo, and one of the best second screen apps that I've actually seen out.
This gives me a very good idea for our next week's app of the week, but I think we're going to save that.
Okay. Well,
and if you want to tune in next week, you can find us over at cnet.com/Android Atlas, where we will be streaming every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. You can find that stream at cnet.com/live. That's also where you can continue to follow all of our awesome CES coverage. You can also follow us on Twitter.
That's right. You can follow the show. The show is at Android Atlas. Cool. And that's our music. You can follow Antoine on Twitter at Antku, and you can follow me, Justin, at not my real name.
And
you
you
got
can
more?
follow the show at Android Atlas. And we didn't do emails this week. We normally do. If you have any questions or comments,
The internet doesn't work very well in Vegas, so we couldn't actually get your email.
Oh, well. Well, you can email those comments to androidatlas@cnet.com or call us, leave us a voicemail, 866-344-CNET. That's 866-344-2638. That's our show for this week.
All right, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Android Atlas Weekly.